Hey y'all, I'm gonna be reviewing episode 1 of Levius, and I gotta say, this episode, as far as first impressions go, it was pretty engaging because the premise is pretty much Levius Cromwell, our main character, essentially making his way in life by tackling on a dangerous sport, which is metal boxing. And essentially, the main character shows snippets of his life. And I gotta give credit to the episode because even though they didn't necessarily reveal Levius's goal, because even at the end of the episode, he even got one of his friends, Natalia, even pondering why doesn't he necessarily look happy after winning a tough match against this guy called Floyd, who was the favorite going into the match with Levius being the underdog. So I kind of like stuff like that because it shows you that even though this episode doesn't necessarily have all of its cards on the table, already the premise is relatively interesting because the boxing matches are interesting. They get high stakes because they even emphasize if you get just one decent blow, because it is punches enhanced by metal parts, there is a decent chance you're either going to be knocked out for a long time or you're going to die. So I kind of like that factor about this episode because it gives it narrative stakes and danger. Because every single time you see a match, there, you're at least me as a viewer, I'm not gonna feel completely comfortable because I'm gonna be like, oh shit, hopefully nothing happens to Levios. So already I like that from the story standpoint. And then aside from that, it did a good job in having bits of humor. Like the moments where Natalia's arguing with the uncle of Levios is hilarious. When she's like, she ain't about thinking about the technicalities of boxing. She's just there to fucking beat some ass and win. And that should just be enough. While the uncle's like trying to put into the head of people fundamentals and strategy and tactics in order to win boxing matches instead of using fancy ass moves. So I kind of like that setup in the episode too, where it feels like it's setting up Levius for an arc where, well, yes, he can win matches doing special moves. There's probably going to be a situation where he's going to have to wisen the fuck up in order to beat his opponents. So I kind of like how they're setting up that angle too in this episode. Because it feels like there isn't a single moment wasted. It feels like everything emphasized in this episode is there for a purpose. And then aside from that, I gotta say, aside from the episode being engaging from a story standpoint, because it feels like it didn't waste a single bit of time, I felt it was nice from a character standpoint because you get some nice characterization for Levios. You get that he's pretty adaptive in high pressure situations because even when the odds seem stacked against him, he can still manage to get a complicated blow against an opponent. But there's room for growth because he's constantly ignoring the advice of his uncle, which, if he listened to it, he might possibly make matches easier on his body. So I like that. And you see he has some trauma in the past. He might have some possible PTSD because he was spacing out when he was thinking about his past. So I also like that too. Shows you that there might be some skeletons in the closet of Levios. And you see his compassionate side when he visits his mother when she's on the hospital bed. So all these are positives and they make him into a pretty layered character in the span of a singular episode. Really hard for animes to do that. And then you've got the other characters too. I think Natalia was a nice highlight. She was funny, cocky, but she showed her compassionate side when she was seeing Levios fight, and she was worried that he was in a troublesome situation. I like that because previous scenes emphasized that Natalia didn't seem to care, but then you can tell that deep down she does care. I like that. And you get characterization for Levius's uncle, where he's the type of guy that's all about the fundamentals, but you can see he legitimately does care for Levios too. I like that. And then there's the glasses mechanic, where even though there wasn't much way in the way of characterization for him, he has his nice moments here and there, like when he was, like when he shut up the uncle and tell him, when he's like, having arguments before a match can decrease the odds of winning by 23%, and he just shuts them both up. So this episode had nice bits of dialogue balancing back and forth between nice and dynamic characters for the most part. So that's why I thought from a script this episode was pretty fantastic. And on top of that, I'd say the art for the backgrounds was nice. The CG it's gonna take a bit of getting used to though. And the animation for the CG, as far as CG go, I guess it was good. But moments like this, it's like, kind of wish it was hand drawn, because you have things like Megalobox, which I know, yes, the Levius manga did come out before Megalobox, but with Megalobox, you just see a product with pristine hand drawn animation beauty. And then you go here and you see boxing, and it's like CG, which, well, it isn't stiff for CG standards. It's just that it's like you go from eating a New York steak towards eating simple beef jerky. That's, at least if I were to compare like the visuals, with this New York steak being Megalobox and the beef jerky being Levius, if I had to make a comparison. And I'd say that's the only thing I really didn't like about the episode. But in saying that, I'd still say this was a strong 8.5 out of 10, at least in my rating scale, and I thought it was good. And I might eventually get used to the CG animation. I might not. But I'd say overall, though, the thing the script carries it's just that for CG animation, it either has to be really high budget for it to look freaking good, or it has to be a drama series like, say, Beastars, where the emphasis isn't on the action, but it's on the character and interactions in order for CG to really, really work. Or in Kuminokusa, where, again, that was a full CG show, but it wasn't action-oriented, though. It was oriented on drama, exploration, and discovering the setting. With Levios, its main focus is essentially just it's one of its main focuses is action, and with the CG action, it's like kind of like hampers my enjoyment at least a significant amount, and that's why I felt it was 8.5 out of 10 worthy. But I'd say overall I had a good time watching it. So anyways, y'all, these are my thoughts on Levios episode 1. Be sure to comment your thoughts on how you felt about my review in the comment section below. Be sure to rate the video, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later if you come back for more. Alright, y'all, have a great and safe day, everyone. Thank you so much for watching my review video a bit about its first episode, and have a great and safe day. Bye-bye.